Okay, friends, so yes, source of light on the cover is the prompt. I am back with Team Romance, and I am finally going to get around to reading the rest of the story by Tal Bauer. Now, this particular copy belongs to Steph at Novelty Corner. This is her traveling book where friends annotate it, so it's now my turn. I'm finally going to make this happen. I am reading for Team Romance this leg, which makes me super happy. And this was going to be my choice regardless, just because I want to get this read so I can send it to her. But yeah, so I am super happy. This is a queer hockey romance, and all of my friends who have read this absolutely adore it. It's one of Steph's all-time favorite books, so I'm very, very excited and happy to be reading this. So anyways, I am going to get my annotation supplies, and I'm very, very excited. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm just prepping to be on sprints with Aoife before I have to go to work today, but I am now 54 pages in to the rest of the story. This already is giving me the six-star vibes. This is one of Steph's all-time favorite books. I knew I was probably going to give it a 4 or 5 stars, but this is already giving me 6-star vibes. There is a character in here I already want to murder. I have annotated multiple times, "Where's my knife?" because he is just the worst possible human being. And I love Morgan. I love Shay. I love their dynamic already. So this is primarily following Morgan's perspective. Morgan is an older NHL player who recently got traded to a team that needed rebuilding. What he finds out once he's there is his buddy, like someone who he played with previously named Gavin, had basically convinced the coach at the time that he needed this player on his team. So he's there, and basically Gavin lied to the coach to get him there because the team captain was abusing all of the players, especially the rookies. And so Morgan came in a bottle of fury and really put this guy to rights. And this guy is just like a toxic a-hole on a power trip. Like, that is the epitome of his character. Morgan is amazing. I love him so much. And it's looking like he's going to be the new team captain, which, with the way he's rallied everybody and how morale is already increasing and going up, that's a huge thing, and I love it so very much. Like, Tal Bauer's writing is fantastic. This is my first Tal Bauer. I know, Steph, I know. And she's getting my reactions as well as my annotations, because this is her traveling copy that I'm annotating as I go. I already warned her. I'm like, Steph, there may be swear words in my annotations. She's like, that is totally fine. Because she already knew how I was hating the captain at the time. I mean, this guy was so controlling. He had made copies of the rookies' teams, like the rookies' keys at their hotel, so he could be in their room at any time. And I'm like, excuse you, sir. Who gave you the right? Excuse me. So, I love this book. It is so well written. Talbauer's words and phrasing and their sense of timing in the story is really fantastic. So, as of right now, we've put this guy kind of in his place and we're moving forward from there. I have a feeling he's not done with the team yet and he's going to be back. But I am very much loving this, and I'm so happy that this is my pick for this leg. When I mean, we're at the end of things now, so I can tell you, but the producers have known the prompts all along. We just didn't know who we were reading for. So when I got this prompt, like when I found out this was going to be one of the prompts, I messaged Brie. I said, hey, can I be on Team Romance for leg 7? And she was like, why? I'm like, there's a book I want to read and it fits the prompt perfectly. So please, pretty please. And so she was kind enough to give that to me. And this book is like, I already want to tear up a little bit about it because it is so well written and it is so beautiful. And I'm just really excited to keep going. I've got my couple of little annotations here. I just have a colored pen and a highlighter that is not the same color as Steph's. So that we can tell the difference between the two of us as we're going through. And sometimes I'm like just highlighting a line underneath what she's already highlighted because I feel the same about it. So it's fantastic so far. I'm very, very happy that this was my choice. It feels like just the right book at the right time for me. And this is one I think I'm going to devour fairly quickly. So these sprints are going to start in about 15 minutes. I'm going to keep reading until then. And then, I've got about 3 hours before I need to leave for work. So I'm just going to spend the morning focused on reading because when I annotate, I do read a little bit slower. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited about this. So I am just going to keep going with it. And I'm sorry, Hubs, but I'm going to be reading a lot the next couple days because I'm really enjoying this. So that's going to be the plan. Here we are. I am heading to work, same day, different shirt, but I have to talk to you about more to you about the rest of the story by Talbauer because it's official. I am legitimately obsessed with this book. So there is this thing that Morgan does. Morgan continues to not feel like he's worthy of Shae. And this is something that a lot of times when I'm reading in a novel bothers me. Like, a lot of times it just doesn't quite work. And, like, it doesn't make sense why they're feeling this way. But I have to say, with this particular book, it's working. Do I like it still? No. No, it's never a trope I'm gonna love. Let's be real. But it is done and so well written in a way that you honestly believe that this is how Morgan feels about himself. Even though all of his actions contradict what he's personally feeling inside. And it's depicted in such a way that, you know, we see why he feels that way from his past. Oh, we tilted weird. There we go. We see from his past why he has this thing of worthiness and like because of things he's done. But it's one of those things where, in all honesty, like, of course he's worthy of Shae, and of course Shae feels like he's completely worthy of him. And another thing that's really cool about this book is Shae's character, because Shae is, sorry if you're a little bumpy. So Shae is a virgin, and they're a virgin by choice. This isn't something we typically see in a male character at all, but particularly in a male sports character. And this isn't, like, sometimes they're virgins by choice. It's just never happened because they were too focused on their sport or whatever. But in this particular one, it was by choice because Shae didn't want just like a one-night stand. He didn't want flings. He wanted to be in love with the person that he shared this part of himself with and that first time with. And I think that's really sweet. It's not something you typically get in a male-male sports romance. So the fact that Tal went that far and did that just makes me love it all the more. The writing and the prose of Tal Bauer are a thing of beauty. They are so well done. It is beautiful. It is stunning. It is everything I could have wanted and more. Like, it is just, it's so good, y'all. Like, I'm 150, not even quite 150 pages into a 370 page book. And I'm telling you right now, it's a 6-star. I just have this feeling. I'm already so obsessed with the characters. I love the writing. I love the topics that it's tackling. It has that perfect angsty slow burn thing going for it. And I'm just here for it. I'm just here for it. So with that said, if you have not read the rest of the story by Tal Bauer, I highly recommend putting it on your TBR. It should be a must read for you, in my opinion. If you like a good sports romance at all, if you like a male-male romance, the way it's all being depicted, the way that the second they started kind of like making out and going a little further, the second Shae said no, Morgan immediately stopped. Like, and didn't try to push it, didn't try to cross it, didn't try to push Shae further than Shae was willing. And I loved him for that. Because he respects Shae so much that it just easily came across in that moment with consent, because the second there was a no, Morgan stopped. And that is something that, especially in male-male romances, I feel like that word no gets pushed too much. And so the fact that Tal isn't doing that, like, just, it makes me happy, y'all. This book makes me freaking happy. This is the best book I've read all month so far. I have zero regrets at this moment. And I still have like 200 pages of this book to go. And I know it's just going to get better from here. Like, everything that's building, everything that is ramping up in the story is working so well for me. Like, I'm here for it. I'm just here for it. And I love them. I am obsessed with Shae and Morgan as a couple. They are male-male sports team couple goals. They are the healthiest one that I've seen, because they're truly building that foundation of like friendship and camaraderie, even though they're both wildly attracted to each other. And I love that that's happening, because Morgan has this thing of, I don't do commitment. I don't know how to do commitment. Shae deserves more than that. They deserve someone that knows more about romance than what they read from like a magazine at the grocery store. And I'm just like, Morgan, that's why you're good for each other, because you know that he deserves better. You don't feel worthy, but you're still willing to put in the effort and show him that he's worthy. And it's just so good, y'all. Like, I love it. I love it. I love them. Thank you, Steph, for making me read this book. Thank you for sending me your annotated copy. And I got to figure out who's next on the list, because I'll be shipping that out relatively soon. But yeah, I'm obsessed. I just am. It's so good. And it's exactly the book that I needed right now, because I was starting to feel like I wasn't going to love anything this month. But now I have that thing I'm obsessed with. It's so good. I mean, I've had some good reads this month. Don't get me wrong. I haven't hated anything I've read. There were some things that I had like some problems with, but I didn't hate any of it. Anyways, this has been a very long-winded clip, but I just want y'all to know that if you have not even heard of this book before, put it on your TBR. It's so stinking good, because it's all about, it's not necessarily going to be the steamiest romance you've ever read. And I love it for that, because it's about so much more than the steam. And that is something that we're in romance is really lacking lately. I feel like a lot of books are all about like just their steam factor, and they only have the two extremes of it's really steamy or it's not steamy at all. This one is going to live somewhere in the middle, I think, because what you like, the scenes you are getting are fairly, you know, explicit and sexy and all those kinds of things. But at the same time, because we're in this slow burn, angsty ramp up, you're not getting only that. Like, it's so much more than that. And I love it for that. It needs to be more than that. Romance needs to be more than how spicy it is. Like, always. Because I honestly feel like the storytelling craft in romance is a beautiful thing when well done. And when given the time to breathe. But I feel like people are just rushing to the end and getting all the smutty stuff first. And I'm like, but that's not what makes romance so great. I mean, I love me a good smutty romance. Do not take this in the wrong context here. But I just love that this is giving me that different thing that I needed. And it's just so good. So yes, I've rambled forever, but please read this. Clearly, from how long this clip is and me rambling on and on about it, you know it's something that is not going to die anytime on my channel. It's something I will continue to talk about and will continue to live rent-free in my head. And again, Talbauer's writing is just top tier. The prose are beautiful. Some of the lines that are written, I'm like, oh, how? This is so beautiful. And yes, I love it. So you've just gone with me on my entire drive to work. I'm basically at work now. So I love y'all. Thank you for dealing and putting up with my butt during all of this. And yes, once I've read more or once I've gotten to the end of this one, unless I need to tell you sooner, we'll talk more about it because I don't want to spoil the book, but man, I am obsessed. So, hello friends. We are back in the car. It is the next day. And I am now well into the rest of the story by Talbauer. I am obsessed. I'm like 225-ish pages in. Because I'm annotating it, this read's going a lot slower. So I am sneaking in a little bit of sightseeing as I go. But yeah. So Shae and Morgan are just these two precious beings who just need to, like, get over the fact that they don't feel worthy of each other. And I know that there's gonna be a big conflict still. There's still like roughly 150 pages left. So there's gonna be something big that comes up. I think it's gonna have to do with the guy who was initially the captain, the a-hole that we all hate. I think it's gonna have to do with him, but I don't know for sure. Like, that felt very, like, unresolved in a way. So I have a feeling that something's gonna happen with all of that, or like he's gonna try to publicly out them. Like, I don't know. I mean, they're both okay with being out. I mean, they're out to their entire team, they're out to their families, and you know, the important people in their life they're out to already. So it's one of those things where it's a matter of like, what is this final conflict going to be? Is this asshole going to come in, make Morgan feel even more unworthy to the point where he breaks up with Shae and tries to let Shae move on? But of course, Shae's going to come back fighting because Shae has chosen him and he has chosen Shae, whether he realizes it or not. And he's like so head over heels. The only thing, like, that I wish is that we had both of their perspectives. But at the same time, like, I understand why Tal has chosen to do it just through Morgan's perspective. There's so much growth that Morgan is going through right now. And Shae is too, don't get me wrong. But Morgan's is very palpable, and everything related to the team comes back to Morgan and his childhood, and it's done so beautifully. I'm trying to still be like super vague here, but yeah, I'm not looking forward to the upcoming conflict because things are really good right now. But we know that with these kinds of books, there has to be some sort of conflict before the end. I just hope it's an external conflict. And then it's more like a reaffirmation of their feelings rather than an internal conflict that's like a misunderstanding. Like that would be the only thing that would be a little bit frustrating at this point. I don't care. It's still 6 stars at this point. But it's one of those things where I honestly think that Tal's going to make it an outside conflict because things are finally going good for the two of them. The outside conflict causing them to break up is a potential thing, though. But I don't think it's going to be them imploding. It could. With Morgan's personality, he could go the self-sabotage route, which in his headcanon, he's already been self-sabotaging. So it'll be really interesting to see what the choices are for this. So either way, I'm still loving it. I'm still obsessed. So do know that. And I will come back to you once I finished and let you know whether the third act conflict is internal or external. Obviously, you'll see my Sightseeing in the Sightseeing vlog. That's already a feature film at this point. So it's going to be a long one. But yeah, anyhow, just heading to work. So I will chat with y'all later. Hello. It is now the 21st at 8:49 p.m. and I have finished the rest of the story by Tal Bauer. I loved everything about this book. Like, I seriously have no major complaints other than the fact that I am now an emotional puddle of mess. This book means the world to me now. Not only did I get to annotate one of my dearest friend's copies for my first read through of this book, but this book literally changed how I look at writing in a story. This chapter 29 of this book, I put it in our group chat. I worded it really good there. My camera's gonna die. We're gonna switch to the phone because we still need to talk. Be back. There we go. So, chapter 29 of this book will go down in history as one of the saddest... I can pull it up on my computer. Give me 1 second. Chapter 29 will go down in history as one of the hardest, saddest, most beautiful chapters I have ever read in my life. And it was in a hockey romance. That tells you the level of writing craft that Tal Bauer has. Their prose is very simple, but also very beautiful at the same time. Like, it's not super flowery, it's not super purpley prose, but it is written in such a beautiful and straight to the heart kind of way that it's really hard to ignore the writing. The writing is absolutely stunning in this. Not only that, but these characters felt so real to me. They felt like actual human beings. This felt like a hockey team where I could drive to Colorado, because it's not that far, and go to one of their hockey games. Like, that's how real all of this felt to me. Even though I know these are fictional characters, and I know this is a fictional story. But the romance was built in such a way that it wasn't insta-lust or insta-love. There was months of building a friendship. There was months of dating before anything happened. When it came to actually getting married, that all happened relatively quick, but I'm honestly okay with that. The way it went down was perfect for this story and for these characters because it didn't give them a chance to second guess and question everything like they were prone to. So this worked really well for me. In the third act incident, it wasn't a breakup at all, which was a really nice and refreshing thing in a romance. It was an outside source coming in and rocking their world again. It was kind of like the prediction I had said. That guy did come back. How he came back was very different than I thought it was going to be. And we found out some other things that I had suspected, but it confirmed it in that moment, and the way it was confirmed and the additional information attached to that confirmation just devastated me. I will link the sprints down below where I freaking lose my mind reading this book. It got to the point where I even had to like turn off the camera because it was too emotional. And you can just go back and watch those. I was going to snip it, but there are too many things to snip. Like, it would just be so much extra work for, you know, all this, to put it all together. And even then, it wouldn't make sense. It would just be reactions. If you've read this book, or if you wanted to read that book while I was reacting on sprints, you could. It's there for you. It's linked below. But I am so glad that I finally read this book. Thank you, Steph from Novelty Corner, for sending out your copy for us to annotate. I am the second of our friend group to get it. I believe Izzy's next, so I'll be sending it on to her. She's also been reading it, but just doing it digitally. So I am just so happy that I got a 6-star read out of this readathon. And this truly makes the whole readathon worth it to me. The readathon is a lot of work and it's a lot of effort, but this book and taking my time reading it has truly been a joy the last few days, where that's not something I would always get in a readathon like this. Like last year, I don't think I might have had 1 5-star. I don't think I had anything that was like an all-time favorite. This is an all-time favorite. And it's just everything to me now. I've rambled on about it so much in this vlog now that I will just leave my thoughts here. But do know that it is amazing and I love it. Hi there. It's been a minute since I've turned on the camera. So today, I believe, is the 25th of June. Yes, the 25th. So we're going to talk about the 8th? Yes, 8th leg of the race. I've already talked to you copiously about leg 7. So leg 8 was, we are currently in Bangkok, Thailand, and we are reading a book with 5 or more colors on the cover. So I chose The Burning Witch number 2 for this particular prompt. This one was really, really good. Another solid entry in the series. I've given most of the books in this series 5 stars. This one tracks with that. This is just a little bit of a like turn off your brain and enjoy kind of series. And it was exactly what I needed after the intensity that was leg 7 for me. I still love the book for leg 7 and will until the day I die. But it's one of those things where I just needed a little bit of a break. So I needed to go to something where expectations were exactly what I knew they would be. And that is exactly what The Burning Witch gave me. This book was fantastic. I was reading for Team Fantasy, so it fit perfectly. And I had a fantastic time. I've already submitted my books for that leg. And Brie gave me the inside scoop and let me know that I'm going to be reading for Team Spooky next. And this is one of the prompts that's harder for Spooky, kind of like leg 6 was harder for sci-fi. So with this one, this is a body of water, or like water on the cover. So what I've done, since I don't read a lot of mysteries, I went through Kindle Unlimited and I checked out a bunch that had water on the cover. So I'm going to do kind of try a chapter with y'all this morning. And we are just going to do our little best. Okay, so I've got A Shelva Problem, Murder She Floats, Mystery of the Blue Train. That one's a pretty safe bet because that one's an Agatha Christie. Diver Down, Numbers Up, Shadows Fall, and The Bookshop Murder. So I've got 7 books that I'm going to try the first chapter of and pick from that because I just haven't read enough mystery to know what I really like and what I don't. So I figured this was a safe way to kind of do that. And since I have the time, Since I know ahead of time who I'm reading for, I can take my time and pick. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All of these are at least 250 pages or more because I wanted to make sure I was at least doing a decent page count if I was going to go cozy mystery. There are a few that are more than that. So we'll just see which one I end up preferring and we'll go from there. Okay, so the first one I tried was The Bookshop Murder, and the writing didn't necessarily grab me like right in that second, but at the same time, like, I'm intrigued as to where this story could go. So it's probably middle of the pack to start, and then things will kind of go better or worse than that, and we'll kind of see what the next one has to offer. And the next one I'm going to try is A Shell of a Problem. So I only read the, I guess, prologue of A Shell of a Problem, and I know that this one's not for me. The writing on this one is not working for me at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and already return that to KU because I know that it is not for me. So as of right now, The Bookshop Murder is the winner. So let's jump into the next one of Murder, She Floats. I'm going to save the Agatha Christie for last because I think that's going to be my safest bet because I know that author's writing. So I want to try the others to see if any of them will work better or work enough. So next up, Murder, She Floats. So Murder, She Floats is also a dud for me. In this one, the male, I'm assuming love interest from her past, is a garbage human. Like, I could not get behind them at all. And I didn't really love the setup. I didn't love our heroine. Like, there wasn't anything about it that made me want to continue. So, you know, as of right now, we only have one potential, which is The Bookshop Murder. And that was feeling kind of middle of the road. So the next one that I'm going to try, I think, is Shadows Fall, because that's looking a little more promising to me, at least on the cover and stuff, compared to the other two. So let's try Shadow Falls and see what happens there. Alrighty, so I read the prologue and first chapter of Shadow Falls. This one is a little more promising. Like, this is one I'm going to hang on to for now. The prologue gripped me quite a bit. And then we're meeting the new potential love interest for our hero, I guess, in the first chapter. And it looks like she's a former cop who ended up arrested and convicted for murder, but now she's out. And so there are so many questions. I'm very intrigued. And this one is also on the longer side, so I like that as well. So this one, I think, is slightly above The Bookshop Murder for now. So I'm going to go ahead and return The Bookshop Murder. I'm only going to, I'm returning the ones that I know something's above at this point. So I've got 3 more first chapters to read. So we're going to do Numbers Up. Okay, I've just done Numbers Up, and they're a little too horny for a cozy mystery for me. Like, she had reported, like, a corrupt client of hers, and now this FBI officer is treating her like garbage, but she's getting turned on by it. Like, the dynamic already isn't working for me in that department. So I'm pretty sure that one is going back, because I'm like, this is just going to be confusing. So next up, let's do Diver Down, and then I have the Agatha Christie. Okay, so I didn't even finish the first chapter of Diver Down because it is a book 2 in a series, and it's definitely expecting you to know things from the previous book. So I don't think it's fair to judge it since it's not a first in a series. So we're just going to go ahead and move past, and we're going to try out the Agatha Christie. I know most of hers can be read as standalones despite being part of series. So I'm going to go ahead and read the first chapter of that one and see if that one appeals more than Shadow Falls right now. Alrighty, so I've now read the first chapter of Mystery of the Blue Train. This one's good. I just think that Shadow Falls is appealing more for what I feel like I'm needing right now. So I think that this one's going to run a little more romantic suspense, which is something I know I read and I'm pretty comfortable with most of the time. And I feel like that's scratching the itch that I need right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do Shadow Falls for my prompt for this leg, for the water leg. And then I'll come back once I've read more of that. But yeah, I'm glad I did the Triad chapter. It kind of let me know what's out there. There were a couple that weren't bad. But yeah, this also gives me a few things I can throw out in the recommendations and let people try. And that might appeal to them. Sorry, more than it did to me. So yes, I am excited about Shadow Falls. I think it's gonna do what I need a book to do right now. So very much looking forward to that, and we'll chat with you once I've read more. Okay, friends, so it is now July 1st, so we need to quickly wrap up the last 2 legs of the amazing readathon. So, wrapping up leg 9 here, I've got Shadow Falls. So, this one, as I was reading it on my Kindle, the writing started to feel a little bit stinted, but I wasn't sure if that was just me reading with my eyeballs or not. So I was able to pick up the audiobook for not a lot of money, and I ended up finishing this one on audio. I ended up preferring the audio in the end. I think it did a really good job of telling the whole story. I felt like it was fairly predictable from what I had gathered throughout the course of the story. But essentially, we're following these 2 characters. They are both ex-cons, and they go up to work on this case. They both have their reasons for wanting to work together, and it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out, because I do plan on reading more in the series later. But in this one, they're at a summer camp. A girl has disappeared. You know, some people are trying to say the girl ran away on her own, but the grandma in particular is like, no, there's no way she would do that. And so things evolve from there. I think the mystery was compelling enough. It kept my interest at least. But this is one that I think as the series goes on, it'll get a little better. So I do plan on continuing. But it was like a 4-star. I really enjoyed it. It was a great time and a great book to finish out my time with Team Spooky. So now we're going to move on to the final leg, which is Los Angeles, and this one is a book that should be adapted. For that one, I ended up choosing A Woman of Pleasure by Kyoko Murata. So this book is basically about a girl who was sold into sex work very young in the past in Japan, and she apprentices under the oiran, or the most sought after woman in the brothel. And so it's very interesting, very slice of life in a way. But it definitely goes there with like personal grooming of women and all sorts of things. This is very raw and very real. This one won the Akutagawa Prize in Japan. This has just recently been translated into English and coming over to us now. It's based in 1903. I'll read you like the first couple of lines just so you get a full grasp of the story, because I'm really bad at explaining it, but it is so, so good. In 1903, a 15-year-old girl named Aoi Ichi is sold to the most exclusive brothel in Kumamoto, Japan. Despite her modest beginnings in a southern fishing village, she becomes the protege of an oiran, the highest-ranking courtesan at the brothel. Through the teachings of her oiran, Shinonome Ichi begins to understand the intertwined power of sex and money. And the way it's told and the fact that it's historical fiction worked really, really well for me. I think this is a book that would beautifully be adapted. I mean, if you think of something like Memoirs of a Geisha and how popular that movie was and that book is, I think this definitely has the potential to be the next generation's Memoirs of a Geisha. This book is amazing. It is so well written, and it's one that I almost want to go back and reread and like annotate and take notes as I read it, because I think this is one that I think also will get a higher rating when I slow down my time with it and read it a little more thoroughly. But I did end up really enjoying this. I went back and forth between the audio and the physical, and both were wonderful. And the translator was Juliet Winters Carpenter, and she's one of the best translators out there. So if you're looking for translated works, if you find that she's the translator, like, you're in good shape. You know it's going to be done well. So with that said, that is the end of this vlog for the amazing Readathon. Thank you again to Bree for inviting me to be a helper and a participant and a producer. It was a good time. I've made a lot of new friends throughout the course of the month, and it just reaffirmed that my friend group is amazing and I love them all. And thanks to everyone who participated, and I appreciate each and every one of you. The sightseeing vlog is coming. You'll get another video before that, but I just want to take a little more time to edit that one just right. So it's going to take a little more time, but do know that it's coming. And with that, if you made it to the end of this video, do one of the little like film cameras as your emoji, because, you know, the next vlog you're going to get is a feature film for sightseeing. So we're just going to do that in anticipation of it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.